Oh man, this one was rough. I'm tempted to title this video something like, "The Scenario That Doesn't Want You to Play It." I don't want to do this, but my mouth doesn't move and I must scream. Yeah, my thoughts on the S.C.P scenario are not great. For starters, this is objectively a rushed scenario. It's half-baked even after having been in an open beta for like 2 months. Only a handful of major changes were made to call it good enough in time for the PAL World collaboration. So many of the mechanics are extremely anti-player. Seriously, this is an alpha build at best. This is not the product of a multi-million-dollar developer. It's a side project that was put together with a team of 6 overworked employees who have watched all of their co-workers get laid off. There's just no way that this is someone's complete vision. Nothing has been smooth and nothing has felt finished or polished. For instance, when fusing deviations in this scenario, we can't even see the skill and activity rating unless we view it in containment first. Like, how am I supposed to know if I'm fusing the right ones? I was literally renaming all of my deviations with their associated score numbers, just so I could spot the ones I wanted to fuse. This took 2 hours. It should have just been included in the fusion window. This is a required workaround for bad design. And this fusion timer, why do fusions take 10 minutes to complete? That's not really long enough to do anything in the game. So it's not like I'm gonna go clear a settlement while I wait. This is just arbitrary. There's no good reason it can't be like 3 minutes or some other lower number. 10 minutes is just enough to make me want to go do something else. And I know someone's thinking, well, why not? Why not go clear a settlement? Look, when I'm focused on fusions, I don't want to venture off to do other things. I want to be there when it finishes so I can just move on to the next fusion. The 10-minute countdown only encourages me to tab out of the game and watch YouTube, turning the game into a side task. The gym battles? These are another instance in which I typically just tab out of the game and work on other projects while I wait for the victory screen. They took these 3-on-3 battles, removed all of the interactivity, and made it a grind that just does not require my being there. I just mark the other team's leader and go grab a drink. On the other hand, climbing the initial gym ladder was a challenge, just not in a good way. I got stuck on Snow Sprite for the longest time. This was not an inherent skill issue or a lack of preparation. It stemmed solely from the jellyfish's overpowered attack. In fact, even at level 50, the safest and most effective way to beat Snow Sprite is to distract the jellyfish and pull it safely away from your team. This is not a fun challenge to overcome. Pulling the jellyfish away isn't the intended method of doing this battle, but it's basically a necessity, and becomes another example of needing to find a workaround for a poor game design choice. Then there are the symbiosis level, or the Secure O deck score requirements. I don't know. They don't even know what they're calling it.
Of course, Meow. Your Secure Dex has my validation, and its capacity will expand.
Anyway, in order to challenge the 4 main gym leaders, you'll need a higher symbiosis rank. Your rank is based on the rarity and value of your secured deviations. They do not level up with battles. Your deviations only level up with these little experience blobs that are found by farming the minor gyms. Alternatively, your Digby boy can occasionally find one while working in your territory. In fact, your own personal progress for the mimetic tree is also tied to the symbiosis rank. You'll hit level 50 way before you hit rank 4, leaving you with 300 plus mimetic points that you can't even spend. The symbiosis rank was mostly just a background task that progressed alongside me as I explored and found new deviations. I didn't have to check on it much at all since the level didn't even matter until the 3rd boss. That seemed fine right up until I had to challenge Chaos, Mr. Wish. My score was floating right around 950 by the time I defeated Snow Sprite, but Mr. Wish refused to battle me because my arbitrary score wasn't high enough, And based on what I could gather from the quest tracker, my next task was to achieve a rating of 1,350. Okay, so I guess I can just replace some of my lower value deviations with better ones. 1,350 isn't that far away. I was annoyed to the point of frustration when, after reaching that threshold for the next symbiosis rank, the required score to fight Mr. Wish wasn't even 1350. Nope, it was actually 1750. Huh. Yeah. Now, at this point, it literally took me 2 to 3 days of replacing weak deviations with stronger ones to get here. And now it felt like they pulled a bait and switch on me. Ugh. I just logged off and didn't log back in for 2 days. The game was telling me that it's no longer good enough to simply catch higher level deviations in the field. No, I also had to level them up now as well. Okay, but what's the best way to do that? Well, after that rug pull moment, I realized that going around to all of the minor gyms trying to farm the little experience globs was not going to be enough. And since the rubber and plastic materials used to create them are intentionally limited, it just wasn't going to be an effective use of time and resources. My strategy changed to building an army of 15 Digby boys to find them overnight. Again, I was encouraged to go do something else while the game played itself. Just let the boys do the work for me. And yet again, I was forced to find a backward method to combat the poor implementation of another bad game design choice. Even with my army of Digby boys, I was still only getting enough experience to level up one new deviation to rank 50 per day. This slowed my progression to a crawl, and while normally I am very against burning through all the content in a day, the S.C.P scenario has no real content to burn through. There is a total of 1 side quest in the scenario that sees you teaming up with the de facto very best trainer.
Is pretty impressive for a novice like yourself. So, have you learned how weak you really are? To become the most powerful securement expert in the realm, you must first know your place. Only then will you understand the importance of working hard. That's the first lesson I'm imparting to you.
I wanna be the very best.
The phases of the scenario are also rather pointless. At first, it seemed the developers wanted each gym to open up per phase, but the fact that I was able to do all 4 gyms in about 9 days made me realize that if I had been trapped battling only the Chaos Kitty for a week, I would have given up much sooner out of boredom. Fortunately, all gyms were open from the start, and I was able to progress to Snow Sprite before I really had to turn my trainer cap backward and focus. Okay, so back to the fusing and capturing mechanics. Each time you throw a Pokeball, securement grenade, you are shown the percentage chance to catch that deviation. And when you fuse 2 deviations together, you're shown the percentage chance for each skill that the child could inherit. In both instances, these numbers are a complete fabrication, fueled not by math, but hopes and dreams. I'm not alone in this opinion. I can't see the math behind the code, but we all know something is way off. In short, the entire S.C.P scenario is extremely anti-player. It feels like one of those mobile games that just plays itself while you're not even looking at your phone. Honestly, it hurts me to write this because I want nothing more than for Once Human to become the top MMO out there. Its style and lore are captivating, but I'm slowly starting to realize that it's losing its way, and I'm losing interest. In the most recent developer AMA, the community were seemingly laser-focused on where the story and future content of the game was headed. There were hardly any questions about the various scenarios. To me, this shows that the community, be it subconsciously or not, is craving direction and purpose. They want to know that this story is going somewhere, or if we're just going to be playing carnival games while the world succumbs to stardust. Hopefully, the AMA made our voices loud and clear. Maybe the developers' takeaway was that the community can't be placated by silly, half-baked game modes forever, and they'll have to return to form soon if they want to retain their Western player base. I wish there were a way to say it without it coming off so aggressively, but the fact is, they have focused too hard on one crowd while the others languished. You can have your own opinion on MMO player archetypes, but this is mine. You can comment below if you agree or disagree, okay? You didn't start playing Once Human to do a pointless grind. You didn't buy that fancy outfit just to fund the game. The reason you log in, grind loot, socialize, and buy cosmetics is to experience the journey and make your mark. You wanted to be a part of the story, to take a piece of that experience with you. You might be a solo player or part of a clan, but you still want to be part of something bigger. The journey, the friendships, the stories, the stuff that actually matters, all of that carries over to your next scenario and stays with you long after you stop playing the game. You're not going to remember the grind. You won't remember the loot. Instead, you'll remember the world and your place in it. You'll remember the laughs, the spooky environments, and the lore, even if you breezed over it. Now, there are a few types of players out there, and this is where my opinion will probably ruffle a few feathers, but hear me out. You have your crowd that values the things they can hoard, the same crowd that demands endgame content on day one and flawless mechanics along the way. And by God, if it's not perfect or they experience a setback, they will shout for the game's demise from the mountaintop. They are the loudest and most opinionated bunch, and they will be gone within a month or two of the game's launch. They are also the ones that the developers bend over backward for. Then there are the ones like me, diehard fans of the game, willing to suffer through the bugs and setbacks because, well, we believe in the project. We encourage people to stick with it. We build community guides and fan art. We make timelines and pick apart the lore. We live in the world the developers create. We are invested long-term and want the game to succeed. Myself and others like me, hopefully you, want to have a meaningful experience and have a great memory of the game. It takes a lot to separate us from our chosen game. It takes a slow and gradual neglect that leads to disillusionment, and I think that's where a large number of us are at now. When developers try to placate the people who were never going to stay past the day they could hit endgame, they end up alienating those who are willing to sign on and become invested customers if they make a return investment on giving us a sense of belonging. That is best achieved with storytelling and world building. All we really wanted was a sign that the lore hadn't been abandoned, a nod to us that says, hey, we remember how the game started and why you came here to begin with. We're going to get back to that. But let's face it, there is no more story or lore to comb through. The last real story we got was in Way of Winter. And when you end 2 major story arcs on cliffhangers, you have to start asking yourself, how much longer can we drag them along? If you think you can rope players in for a part 3 without answering any questions about who we are or what our purpose really is, well,
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
the latest game modes have almost entirely forsaken the lore of the world they built and focus exclusively on new mechanics or scenarios. The shreds of storytelling we do get are more like tutorial explanations. These issues are not exclusive to Once Human either. This happens in every MMO I've played over the course of my life. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy every time. Sacrifice the storytelling on the altar of content, failing to realize that deep lore is content that keeps players attached and invested. A game's lore will not only give players a reason to stick around, but also gives content creators tons to work with, creating story analysis videos, lore communities, and deep dives into how we fit into the world. I'm not naive. I do know that it's a balancing act, story versus gameplay. What I'm saying is that the scales are tipped too far in one direction, and realistically, this happens because of budget cuts, not reinvesting into your own product to make it better. Any company that continues to reinvest into their product will have better results than a company that just takes the money and runs. And we are wondering where the money is going. We're trying to determine if this game is going to be worth investing in and if that investment will pay off in something meaningful. The story, the friendships, the journey. Will it be worth it? And looking at the S.C.P scenario today, I just don't know. There's nothing here for me. Just frustration and disillusionment.
Our world is broken, stagnant, fallen into the abyss.
Can they turn it around? I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments. I reply to almost everyone. I'd love to hear what you think about the new scenario or your take on the game. Just do me a favor and don't just be like, game sucks, lol. You know, try, be engaging. But Yeah, this was not a good scenario and not a good look. The AMA gave me some hope for the future, but development time and all that, it's probably going to be a while before anything good happens. Hopefully there's a light at the end of this tunnel. I hope to see you on the other side of it. See you in the next one.